It's that time again where I put on my Jimmy Broadbent hat and become a sim racing steward, but not for road racing, for NASCAR. So let's take a look at your guys' wrecks and be the judge of if it was your fault, or if it was somebody else's fault, or if it was just a racing incident. Okay, the first wreck we got here was sent in by Rocky, so let's see what we got here. Just had you guys send in your wrecks here. I don't have any access to replay files right now, so this is going to be the only view that we get. It's an interesting crossover on the start there. A little bit of contact. Oh, kind of a body slam there. Oh, they're still wrecking. Oh, the seven car makes his appearance. You guys are still together. This is wild. They're still wrecking. And he goes for the intent wreck there, and you're still wrecking. Oh my gosh. Wow, that's the longest wreck I've ever seen. Oh, he goes for it again. Oh, he got him. Oh, good save, good save. And that might be one of the longest non-wrecks I've ever seen. Okay, let's break this down. There's a lot to unpack here. A lot. Okay, so first off, is this a valid move off this start? So the rule in iRacing is you get black flagged if you pass somebody, especially the leader before the start finish line. You went for an instant crossover. That's kind of a dirt move. It's legal in terms of iRacing. iRacing doesn't enforce like staying in line before the start finish line. They just enforce not passing before the start finish line. So technically, in terms of iRacing, your move is valid. This right here, 2-car holding his line all the way through the corner. He squeezes you quite a bit down there, but then he gives some room. That right there, how much room did you have right there? So you were a little bit dipped below the yellow. The 2 is not happy with you, and I can understand him not being happy at you, but in terms of iRacing, nothing you did was technically legal, but probably against, like, it would be very aggressive for that time. I would maybe say dirty. Somewhere between aggressive and dirty, this move right here. And then getting into him right there, not really. This was him squeezing you plus you coming up. He was really trying to squeeze you there. I think that's a racing incident more than anything. He did squeeze you, and then him just not giving any room off the corner. He's out of control here too. You guys are just trying not to wreck. And then the 7-car. I mean, the 7-car, honestly, that's the most egregious thing I've seen so far, because the 7-car sees you too. And we can't see if there's somebody on his butt as well, unfortunately, so maybe I could be wrong here. But the 7-car should have easily known that you guys were not entering that corner near normal. So that's kind of a wild move on his part to just run into the 2. But this right here is the first, like, what is going on? Like, he has all the room to enter wider. You see, like, the groove that iRacing suggests, the dark right here. This is the first move where I'm like, okay, this isn't just hard racing anymore. This is somebody doing something at fault. So everything before this I would call hard racing, a little stupid, but this is the first move right here where I'm like, come on. You can't do that. I mean, he's never making that corner entry, so he's obviously just trying to wreck you. In terms of that first move, I'm on the fence. I would be very unhappy if that was done to me, but at the same time, it is within iRacing's rules. So I'm going to say you, Rocky, the first place car here. Overall, super aggressive. I wouldn't be happy about it, but technically, I will call it not guilty. All right, next we got a wreck here from Caleb. I think Caleb is the purple car here, so let's take a look at it. So coming up to turn 4 at Charlotte, it looks like. Yellow car looking low, and they make contact there. To me, it looks like they shouldn't have much of a speed difference. There's no speed difference coming off the corner here, which is telling me, yeah, this distance closing right here, look at the distance between 28 and 89 and the 28 in the yellow car. Yeah, purple car checked up there. So, like 99% of the time when there's contact made and someone's bumper, I say, okay, it's the person who hit the bumper's fault. I think this might be one of those 1% times, because we're going into a trial of a single file. Nobody is expecting anybody to check up here, and then there's not much room to react to begin with. I have a hard time really faulting the yellow car. I really do, and this is why. 1, he's got a guy right on his butt. If he checks up, he's getting dumped because there's literally not enough time to react between those 2 cars. 2, you just don't expect somebody to check up in a quad oval, I guess Charlotte is. This car here not taking the quad oval. Purple car has two options. He either checks up and gives room to the bottom, or he takes the bottom when he sees the checkup. I think that checking up and then blocking the bottom, it's one of those situations that I don't think is fair to put all the blame on the yellow car. What could the yellow car have done to avoid a wreck here? So let's think about it. So yellow car, once the purple car checks up, he can't let off or else he gets wrecked. He can go even lower into the grass, which is probably the best way to have avoided a wreck, but two wheels in the grass is a pretty good way to get wrecked as well. He tries to keep it. You see, he never comes up. He tries to keep it right on the blue and white. So my final verdict is that the yellow car is not guilty, and this is all just an unfortunate racing incident that starts with the lead car not going all the way down to the quad oval there. All right, next we have one from a friend of a channel, Racing with Rob. So let's take a look at this. See what we got.
Still there, inside.
So he enters on the outside.
Still there at the bottom.
Coming off the corner. Oh.
Still there, hold your own.
This is about, it's hard to see without chopper, but he is maybe even close to a full lane off the wall right here. And when you're right here and the other car is right here, that's the blind spot. Like, all you can do when you have this positioning on the bottom car and the top car is just assume that they're going to be fairly close to the wall. Left side's right on the line here. I would say that the bottom car did give Rob enough room to comfortably make the exit, and I think there's probably a good half a lane to the wall here. And if you look at, I mean, racing, this is a 3.2K SOF. If this was maybe less than 1,000 strength of field, I would understand, like, hey, we need to give these guys more room. But I think it's pretty reasonable to expect somebody around that 3K mark to be able to get closer than half a lane to the wall on your right side. And since this is all in the blind spot, you can really only guess where they're going to be. And you're trying to make the pass, I understand. So I'm looking at this, and I really do see that there was not enough room given from the top. I think that the bottom assumed perfectly fine how far up he could be off the corner, and I probably would have been very close, if not a little closer to the same exit, especially when trying to make a pass. So I would actually say that Rob here, unfortunately, is guilty. All right, we got one here from Yaroslav saying, my fault or just a lag contact. So this is late models at Lanier. So let's take a look. So this is a battle for position, it looks like. A little bit squirrely all the way around. Not the most car control I've ever seen. And then a little lagging. Oh, and then just turns him right there. Let's see, what was that? I don't even know if that was lag, to be honest with you. So there's one little lag moment there you see. You could call this netcode if you wanted to, but regardless of netcode, I think you're hitting him coming off the corner. The 8 was trying to give room to the top, I think, because he knew that he had a bad entry. Or maybe he's just trying to keep it off the wall and that's how he does it. There is more than enough room for the 7 car to position himself to pass along the outside here. Usually, like I said earlier, when somebody makes contact with someone's rear, it's their fault. I don't think this is an exception to that. I think that pretty clearly would have made contact, lag or not. The 8 car very rarely would have been in a position to where you could have cleanly gone above him. So I think that setting up that corner to where you had more of a run going to the outside, because more than likely he was going to end up with his bumper on your nose, and then you were just going to run through him anyway, it seems like. So because of that, I'm going to say that you are guilty, because it's either you're going to have to know that he's going to slide up in front of your nose and set up on the outside, or unfortunately you'd have to check up for him, but that's racing. All right, Legacy Texas and Xfinity cars. Looks like a battle for the lead here. Let's see what we got going on here. So side-by-side entering the corner. Side-by-side looks pretty good so far. Ooh, wow. That's a crazy squeeze, isn't it? That is not enough room, man. That's a crazy squeeze. You have literally inches to each side of you. Netcode should have made that worse than it was, to be honest with you. And then at this point, he's not even holding a full car width at this point. Like, there was literally nowhere for you to go if you had even gotten to this point. If you were to even drive perfectly here, oh, and this is Peter, by the way, sent this in. If you were to drive this perfectly right on the white line, By here, it would have literally been impossible for you to stay off of him or the white line. So this is just a poor judgment in line by this car right here, the white car, the one car. I think it's pretty cut and dry in that case. So I'm going to say that, Peter, you are not guilty. All right, we are back to the ARCA at Charlotte. This is Chris who sent this in, and this one caused a stir on the Discord server, so you know this one's going to be good. Let's take a look at it. Okay, entering 3 and 4 side by side. He enters high. Car in front goes for a bit of a slider here. Oh, that's kind of gnarly. Hard to see in this angle. I like watching sliders a lot more in Chopper to see how much room that he had. Okay, so slider is completed here. That's... I wish I could see how much space was between the cars, because usually when I pull a slider, I like having a car length between me and the other car. About half a car length is what I would consider to be good enough. Anything less than a half a car, I don't think personally, and you might have a different opinion, let me know. I think if you slider anything on an oval less than half a car length, I think that's pretty dirty. I think this is pretty close to that. If you're watching in his rear view, you can probably start seeing him right there. So that's 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds until contact. Yeah, it's a little close, but I think there are 3 full seconds in between you recognizing that a slider is happening and you making contact. I think that is plenty to either make a crossover successfully or to just not hit him. I think if it was closer to 1 second for all those things to happen, like if he just kind of slid up and maybe less than 2 seconds or so, I think that's when it starts saying, okay, racing incident type of deal. But 3 seconds, if you recognize that somebody is about to slider you, you should be crossing over the moment that you recognize the slider is about to happen. It looks like, in my opinion, you don't really start crossing over until you see him like right on the nose. And at that point, it's too late, right? You can't turn down that whole way. I think it's a little close, but I think that in the future, if you recognize that the slider is happening and go for the crossover immediately instead of waiting until he's right in front of you, I think this will be a more successful maneuver, because I don't think this is an exception to my rule that 99% of times the person with the nose into the bumper is at fault. I think he's still at fault here by a pretty decent margin. I understand why he would think that it was a dirty slider. I think it's close-ish. I don't think it's horrible. And I think that if you go for the crossover when you recognize that it's happening, rather than waiting until it's already happened, I think that'll be a lot more successful. So unfortunately, I'm going to judge guilty. And for our last one, I have Kale here. This should be interesting. I always know that whenever Kale sends something in, it's going to be interesting. What is that? Did someone miss a shift or something? Come on, just... Oh my god. They're still wrecking. Wait, that's why. So Barney the flagman does not want to show his yellow flag. It's still green at this point. It's not yellow yet. Nobody's spun out enough, I guess. That's pretty interesting. Barney the flagman's at fault for not throwing in the yellow. And then there's a bunch of cars that just hit each other at 2 miles an hour at the end of the wreck. All right, everybody's guilty. I'm just going to put everyone in jail for this. This was a mess. But thank you for the entertainment. If you want one of your wrecks or close calls judged by me, go to my Discord server and send the link to a YouTube video or a video file into the Send Videos for Review channel. And also, if you want to see another one of these videos right away within the next week, let's get this video to 500 likes and I will make it as soon as possible. All right, thank you all for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope to see you all on the track.